Captain Ben Torres felt his ship shake violently as it broke through the atmosphere of the unknown planet. Red warning lights flashed across the control panel while alarms screamed in his ears. The exploration vessel Unity had been traveling through deep space when a strange energy pulse knocked out their navigation systems. Emergency protocol activated, the ship's computer announced in its calm voice. Hull breach detected. Life support failing. Ben gripped the controls tightly as he watched the alien landscape rush toward him. Purple mountains stretched across the horizon, and what looked like forests of giant crystals glowed with soft blue light. He had never seen anything like this world before. The ship hit the ground hard. Ben felt his body slam against the safety harness as metal groaned and sparked around him. When everything finally stopped moving, silence filled the cabin except for the hiss of escaping air. Ben checked his suit's life support system. Oxygen levels showed green, but he had maybe 6 hours of air. The ship's hull had cracked open like an egg, and the purple sky was visible through a large hole above his head. He gathered his emergency pack and climbed out of the wreckage. The gravity here felt lighter than Earth's, making each step feel like a small bounce. The air showed as breathable on his scanner, so Ben carefully removed his helmet and took a deep breath. The air tasted sweet, like flowers mixed with metal. The crystal forest stretched out in all directions. Each tree-like structure stood about 30 feet tall and pulsed with gentle light that shifted from blue to green to purple. Ben had studied many alien worlds, but nothing in his training prepared him for this beauty. His communication device crackled with static. "This is Captain Torres calling any ships in range. My vessel has crashed on an uncharted planet. I repeat, this is an emergency." Only silence answered him back. Ben knew he had to find shelter and water. His pack contained food for 3 days, but survival meant finding local resources. He picked a direction toward what looked like a large structure in the distance and started walking. The crystal trees made soft musical sounds as wind passed through them. The melody reminded Ben of wind chimes back on Earth, though these sounds seemed more complex, almost like voices having a conversation. Sometimes he thought he heard patterns in the music, as if the crystals were trying to communicate. After walking for 2 hours, Ben stopped to rest beside a small stream of clear water. His scanner showed the water was safe to drink. As he filled his bottles, he noticed something strange. The crystals near the stream glowed brighter, and their musical sounds became more active when he was close. "Interesting," Ben said to himself. "They respond to living beings." He continued walking as the alien sun began to set. The crystal forests became even more beautiful in the twilight, creating a light show that painted the purple sky in rainbow colors. But Ben felt the loneliness of being the only human on this world. Back on his ship, he had a crew of 12 people. They shared meals, told stories, and worked together as a family. Lieutenant Sarah Kim always made jokes during the evening meal. Engineer Tom Walsh loved to explain how different alien technologies worked. Medical Officer Dr. Rosa Martinez sang old Earth songs while she worked in the medical bay. Ben missed their voices, their laughter, their presence. "Stay focused," Ben told himself. "Find shelter first, then worry about rescue." As darkness fell, the large structure he had seen earlier became clearer. It was enormous, easily the size of a city block and rising hundreds of feet into the air. The building seemed to be made of the same crystal material as the trees, but its surface showed more complex patterns of light that moved like living rivers. Ben approached carefully. His scanner detected no immediate dangers, but it also showed energy readings unlike anything in human databases. The structure pulsed with a slow, steady rhythm like a heartbeat. At the base of the structure, Ben found what appeared to be an entrance. The opening was twice as tall as a human and shaped like a perfect oval. Strange symbols glowed softly around the doorway, shifting and changing as he watched. "Should I go in?" Ben wondered aloud. His training said to be careful around unknown alien structures, but his current situation offered few choices. The temperature was dropping, and he needed shelter. Ben stepped through the entrance. Inside, the walls curved smoothly upward, creating corridors that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. The crystal walls provided enough light to see clearly, and the air felt warm and comfortable. As he walked deeper into the structure, Ben noticed that his footsteps created small ripples of light in the floor, as if he was walking on the surface of a glowing pond. The musical sounds of the crystal forests echoed softly through the corridors, but here they sounded more organized, more purposeful. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that took Ben's breath away. The ceiling stretched up so high that it disappeared into darkness, and the walls curved around in a perfect circle. In the center of the chamber stood a raised platform made of the same crystal material, but this crystal was different. It pulsed with deep purple and gold light, and something was moving within it. Ben walked closer to the platform. As he approached, the light inside the crystal grew brighter, and he could see a shape forming within the material. It was large, much larger than a human, and it seemed to be waking up. The crystal began to dissolve, not breaking or melting but simply fading away like morning mist. What emerged from within made Ben step backward in amazement. The being stood nearly 12 feet tall, with a body that seemed to be part organic and part living metal. Her skin had a deep blue color with silver patterns that moved like liquid mercury across her surface. She had 4 arms, each ending in hands with long, graceful fingers. Her head was elongated and elegant, with large eyes that glowed with inner light. Most striking of all was the crown-like structure that grew from her head, made of the same crystal material as the chamber but more intricate and beautiful. This was clearly a queen or ruler of some kind. Her presence filled the chamber with authority and power, but also with a strange sadness that Ben could feel even without words. The queen looked down at Ben with her glowing eyes. When she spoke, her voice did not come through sound but directly into Ben's mind. The telepathic communication felt gentle but overwhelming, like standing in a warm ocean wave. Small being from the metal shell that fell from the sky, the queen's voice echoed in Ben's thoughts. You walk alone through my crystal gardens. You breathe the air of my world without invitation. Yet you show no fear of my presence. Tell me, creature of distant stars, are you solitary human? Ben tried to speak aloud, but the queen's voice returned to his mind. Your sound words are crude vibrations. I will read the thoughts you choose to share. Answer my question. Are you solitary human? Ben focused his thoughts, trying to communicate clearly. I am human, your majesty. My name is Ben Torres. I am alone now because my ship crashed, but humans are not usually alone. We live and work together. The queen's silver patterns moved faster across her skin, showing what Ben guessed was surprise or confusion. Together, she repeated. Explain this concept. I have observed the metal shells that carry multiple heat signatures across the void between stars. But I believe these were simply larger versions of solitary beings, like my own kind when we journey between worlds. No, your majesty. Those heat signatures are different individual humans working as a team. We cooperate, share resources, and help each other survive and explore. The queen descended from her platform, moving with fluid grace despite her size. As she came closer, Ben could see that her large eyes held ancient wisdom but also deep loneliness. I am Queen Zara of the Zephyrian people, she said through their mental connection. For 3,000 of your Earth years, I have ruled this world in solitude, as is the way of my kind. Each Zephyrian is born to rule alone, to think alone, to exist alone. We believe this was the nature of all intelligent life in the universe. It's not our way, Ben replied, thinking of his crew members and the billions of humans working together across the galaxy. Humans are stronger when we work together. We share knowledge, help each other solve problems, and face dangers as a group. Queen Zara walked slowly around Ben, studying him like a scientist examining a new discovery. Show me your thoughts of this cooperation. I would see how multiple beings can exist in the same space without conflict or territorial disputes. Ben focused on memories of his crew. He thought about Lieutenant Kim's quick thinking when they encountered a solar storm near Jupiter. She had worked with Engineer Walsh to modify their shields, while Dr. Martinez coordinated with the navigation team to find a safe route. Ben had made the final decisions, but only after listening to everyone's expertise. Fascinating, Queen Zara said, her mental voice filled with wonder. In my observations of your species, I believed one human commanded while others simply obeyed. I did not understand that you share decision-making and knowledge freely. We each have different skills and knowledge, Ben explained. A good leader listens to experts before making choices. No single human knows everything. The Queen's silver pattern slowed and deepened in color, which Ben was beginning to recognize as a sign of deep thought. This is impossible for my people. Each Zephyrian is born with complete knowledge of our technology and culture. We have no need to learn from others because we already possess all information our species has gathered. Cooperation would only create confusion and conflict. Ben felt a wave of sadness from the Queen's thoughts. But doesn't that make you lonely? Don't you want companionship or friendship? Friendship, the Queen repeated the word as if it was foreign to her. Another human concept I do not understand. You speak of voluntary association between equals for emotional satisfaction rather than survival necessity. Yes, exactly. Humans form friendships because we enjoy each other's company. We share experiences, emotions, and support each other through difficult times. Queen Zara returned to her platform and settled into what appeared to be a throne made of living crystal. The entire chamber responded to her mood, with the walls shifting to deeper, more melancholy colors. Small Ben Torres, I will share something with you that no other being knows. The Zephyrian people are dying. Ben felt shock and concern flow through their mental connection. What do you mean? How are you dying? We number only 47 individuals across 17 worlds. Each rules in complete isolation, never communicating with others of our kind except for the ritual of reproduction, which occurs only once every 1,000 years. But even then, we meet only long enough for biological necessity before returning to our solitary existence. The Queen's thoughts carried deep pain. Our isolation, which we believed was our strength, has become our weakness. We face challenges that require new solutions, but we cannot learn from each other's experiences. Each Zephyrian must solve every problem alone, and when we fail, we simply fail. That's terrible, Ben said, genuinely moved by her suffering. Humans solved that problem long ago by sharing knowledge. When one person discovers something new, we teach it to others. Our entire civilization builds on the work of previous generations. Show me, Queen Zara commanded. Show me how humans share knowledge across generations. Ben thought about human history, focusing on simple examples. He shared memories of learning to read from his mother, who had learned from her teachers, who had learned from their teachers in an unbroken chain going back thousands of years. He thought about scientific discoveries, where one researcher's work built on previous studies, allowing humanity to achieve things no individual could accomplish alone. Impossible, the Queen whispered into his mind, but her tone suggested wonder rather than disbelief. You mean a human who lived before your birth can still teach you through preserved knowledge? Books, digital records, videos, schools, we have many ways to preserve and share knowledge. Every human child learns from the wisdom of everyone who came before them. Queen Zara's crystal throne began to pulse with rapidly changing colors. This sharing of knowledge across time and between individuals, this is how your species has become so powerful despite your individual weakness. Ben felt slightly offended. We're not that weak individually. Forgive me. I meant no insult. But compared to a Zephyrian, a single human possesses limited strength, limited knowledge, and a very short lifespan. Yet your species has spread across countless worlds and achieved technological marvels that rival our own ancient civilization. Now I understand how this is possible. The Queen rose from her throne and approached Ben again. This time, her movements seemed different, less formal and more curious. Ben Torres, I must understand this cooperation more completely. My people face a crisis that threatens our survival, and perhaps your human methods might offer solutions we have never considered. What kind of crisis? Ben asked. Queen Zara gestured toward the walls of the chamber, and suddenly they became transparent, showing the crystal forests outside. But Ben could see that many of the crystalline trees were dimming, their lights fading to darkness. The crystal forests are the foundation of our world's ecosystem. They convert starlight into energy that feeds all life on this planet. But they are failing, and I do not know why. On 17 worlds, the same crisis occurs. Each Zephyrian ruler faces this problem alone, and each of us fails to find a solution. Ben studied the dying crystals through the transparent walls. Have you tried communicating with the other Zephyrian rulers about this problem? Maybe sharing information about what each of you has tried. Communication between Zephyrian worlds is forbidden except during reproduction periods. It is our most ancient law, established to prevent territorial conflicts and maintain the purity of our solitary nature. But if you're all dying, maybe it's time to break that law, Ben suggested carefully. Humans have learned that survival sometimes requires changing old rules when they no longer serve us. Queen Zara's silver patterns flickered rapidly. What Ben was learning indicated deep agitation or conflict. You suggest I violate the fundamental principle of our species' existence. To communicate with others of my kind outside the permitted time would be to become something other than Zephyrian. Or it might make you into a new kind of Zephyrian, one that survives instead of dying alone, Ben said gently. The queen turned away from him, her thoughts becoming more private and guarded. Ben could feel her struggle between ancient traditions and the desperate need for solutions. Your human cooperation concepts are like a poison to my understanding of natural order, she said finally. Yet they also offer hope where none existed before. I must consider whether survival justifies abandoning everything my people have believed for millennia. Ben felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. His words were influencing decisions that could determine the fate of an entire species. He thought about what his crew would advise him to do in this situation. Lieutenant Kim would say to gather more information before making recommendations. Engineer Walsh would want to understand the technical aspects of the crystal forest problem. Dr. Martinez would focus on the health and well-being of all involved. Your Majesty, Ben said, maybe we don't have to solve everything at once. Could you show me more about how the crystal forests work? If I understand the technical problem, maybe human problem-solving methods could help find an answer. Queen Zara considered this request. You would study our most sacred technology. Only to help save your people. Humans often solve problems by bringing fresh perspectives to old challenges. I might see something you've missed, not because I'm smarter, but because I think differently. The queen's patterns shifted to colors Ben hadn't seen before, deep golds mixed with bright silvers that seemed to indicate cautious hope. Very well, Ben Torres. I will show you the deepest secrets of Zephyrian crystal technology. But know this, if you use this knowledge to harm my people or my world, I possess power enough to erase you from existence. Understood, Your Majesty. I give you my word as a human and as a captain that I will use any knowledge you share only to help your people survive. Queen Zara nodded slowly. Then come. Let me show you wonders your species has never imagined, and perhaps together we can find answers that neither human cooperation nor Zephyrian solitude has discovered alone. As they moved toward a new section of the chamber, Ben felt both excitement and responsibility weighing on him. He was about to learn secrets of an ancient alien civilization, but more importantly, he might help save an entire species from extinction. The Queen's question still echoed in his mind, was he a solitary human? He was beginning to understand that the answer might determine not just his own fate, but the future of both their peoples. Queen Zara led Ben through corridors that seemed to reshape themselves as they walked. The crystal walls flowed like water, creating new passages while closing others behind them. Ben watched in amazement as the very structure of the building responded to the Queen's presence. The crystal technology is alive, Queen Zara explained through their mental connection. Every crystal on this world shares consciousness with every other crystal. They think, learn, and grow as one unified mind. They entered a chamber that took Ben's breath away. Thousands of tiny lights floated in the air like stars, each one connected to others by thin beams of energy. The pattern looked like a three-dimensional map of a nervous system, with information flowing constantly between connection points. "This is the crystal mind," the Queen said. "It controls all life systems on my world." The floating lights represent individual crystal trees in the forests. The energy connections show how they communicate and share resources. Ben studied the display carefully. His engineering training helped him recognize patterns in the energy flows. It's like a biological computer network, but using living crystals instead of electronic circuits. Your comparison is accurate but incomplete. This network has grown for millions of years, becoming more complex than any artificial system. It regulates weather, manages nutrients for all plant and animal life, and maintains the delicate balance that keeps this world habitable. As Ben watched the floating lights, he noticed something troubling. Many of the connections were fading, and several lights had gone completely dark. The bright energy flows were becoming weaker and more intermittent. "The network is breaking down," Ben observed. But why? What changed? Queen Zara's silver patterns shifted to deep red colors that Ben was learning indicated distress. "This is the mystery I cannot solve. For the past 50 years, crystal nodes have been failing across the network. When one fails, others must work harder to maintain system balance. This creates additional stress, causing more failures." Ben walked closer to the display, studying the pattern of failures. "Can you show me data from other Zephyrian worlds? I want to see if the same thing is happening everywhere. I do not possess such data. Communication between our worlds is forbidden, remember? Each ruler faces this crisis in isolation. But that's the problem," Ben said with sudden excitement. "You're trying to solve a multi-world crisis using information from only one world. It's like trying to understand a disease by examining only one patient instead of studying all the cases." The Queen's patterns shifted to colors Ben hadn't seen before, confusion mixed with curiosity. "Explain this medical comparison." Ben thought about human medical research. When humans encounter a new disease, doctors from around the world share information. They compare symptoms, treatments, and outcomes from many patients. This helps them understand the disease faster and find better treatments. "You mean multiple human healers work together to solve medical problems?" "Exactly. And not just doctors, researchers, scientists, data analysts, and many others contribute their expertise. No single human could solve complex medical problems alone, but together we can cure diseases that once killed millions of people." Queen Zara's throne rose from the floor as she settled into deep contemplation. "You suggest that the crystal network crisis might be solvable if all Zephyrian rulers shared their data and observations." "It's possible. Maybe the crystal networks on different worlds are failing in different ways. Or maybe some worlds have found partial solutions. You'll never know unless you communicate." The Queen's mental voice carried centuries of ingrained resistance. "To contact other rulers outside the reproduction period would violate our most sacred laws. It goes against everything our species believes about proper existence." Ben felt the weight of the moment. His next words could determine whether an entire species survived or went extinct. He thought about what his crew would say, especially Dr. Martinez, who always focused on preserving life above all else. "Your Majesty," Ben said carefully, "sometimes survival requires changing old rules that no longer work. Humans had to abandon many ancient traditions when we learned they were harmful or limiting. The goal isn't to destroy your culture, but to help it evolve so it can continue to exist." "Show me human examples of changing harmful traditions," the Queen demanded. Ben shared memories from human history. He thought about early humans who learned to work together in larger groups for better protection and resource sharing. He recalled how humans abandoned isolation between tribes when they discovered the benefits of trade and shared knowledge. He showed her how human medicine advanced when doctors stopped working in secret and began sharing discoveries openly. In each case, Ben explained, humans became stronger and more successful by choosing cooperation over isolation. Queen Zara studied these mental images for a long time. The crystal chamber responded to her emotional state, with colors shifting from deep reds to cautious yellows. Your species faced similar choices between isolation and cooperation, she said finally. And in every case, cooperation led to survival and growth while isolation led to stagnation or death. Yes. And notice that cooperation didn't make humans lose their individuality. We still have different cultures, languages, and ways of thinking. Working together actually helps preserve diversity by making sure all groups can survive and contribute. The queen rose from her throne and approached the crystal mind display. She placed all 4 hands on different connection points, and suddenly the entire room filled with new information. Charts, graphs, and data streams appeared in the air around them. This is every piece of data my crystal network has gathered about the failure crisis, she said. 50 years of observations, measurements, and attempted solutions. All of it represents the work of a single world trying to solve a multi-world problem. Ben studied the data displays. Even with his human training, the information was overwhelming. This is incredibly detailed, but you're right, it's incomplete. You need data from the other 16 worlds to see the full picture. To obtain such data, I must violate laws that have governed Zephyrian behavior for 100,000 years, the queen said. The consequences for my people's cultural identity could be severe. But the consequences of not getting the data will be extinction, Ben replied gently. Your culture can't survive if your species dies out. Queen Zara's patterns shifted through many colors rapidly, a sign of intense internal conflict. You ask me to risk everything my people are in order to save what my people might become. Ben thought about the difficult decisions his own crew had made during dangerous missions. Your Majesty, leadership sometimes means making hard choices that others can't or won't make. That's why you're a queen and not just another Zephyrian. The compliment seemed to strengthen the queen's resolve. Her pattern stabilized into determined golds and silvers. Very well, Ben Torres. I will attempt to contact the other Zephyrian rulers. But I need you to teach me human methods of cooperation. I do not know how to communicate with others as equals rather than as a superior or inferior. Start with respect, Ben said. Approach them as fellow experts facing the same problem. Ask for their help rather than demanding their obedience. Queen Zara moved to a section of the chamber that Ben hadn't noticed before. Crystal panels rose from the floor, covered with symbols that hurt his eyes to look at directly. This is our quantum communication system. It can reach any Zephyrian world instantly, but it has been used only for reproduction negotiations. What will you say to them? Ben asked. The queen's patterns showed uncertainty. In human terms, how does one begin a conversation with strangers about cooperation? Ben smiled, remembering his first day as captain when he had to build trust with a crew that didn't know him. Start by introducing yourself and explaining the situation honestly. Tell them you've discovered something important about the crystal crisis that might help everyone. Queen Zara activated the communication system. Energy flowed through the crystal panels, and Ben felt a strange tingling in the air. The queen's mental voice became more formal as she prepared to speak. Fellow rulers of the Zephyrian people, she began, broadcasting to all 17 worlds simultaneously. I am Queen Zara of the 7th world. I contact you in violation of our traditional laws because I have discovered information that may save our species from extinction. Ben watched the queen's patterns shift to show nervousness, but her mental voice remained strong and clear. The crystal network failures that plague our worlds may be solvable, but only if we share our data and work together to understand the full scope of the problem. I have learned from a human visitor that cooperation between rulers can lead to solutions that no individual can achieve alone. The response came quickly from multiple worlds. Ben couldn't understand the complex telepathic communications, but he could feel the emotions, shock, anger, curiosity, and fear mixing together in a chaotic storm of mental energy. Queen Zara translated for him. They are outraged that I have broken our laws. Several demand that I cease communication immediately. But 3 rulers have acknowledged that their crystal networks are also failing, and they want to know more about potential solutions. That's a start, Ben said encouragingly. Focus on those 3. Show them the benefits of sharing information. The Queen transmitted her crystal network data to the 3 willing rulers and requested their data in return. Within minutes, new information began flowing into the crystal mind display. Charts and graphs multiplied as data from 4 different worlds merged together. Fascinating, the Queen whispered as patterns emerged that had been invisible when studying only one world. The failures began at different times on each world, but they follow similar progression patterns. And look, the failure rates accelerate when planets are aligned in certain configurations. Ben studied the new data with growing excitement. It's a cosmic phenomenon. Something about planetary alignments is affecting the crystal networks across multiple star systems. More rulers began joining the communication, drawn by curiosity about the emerging patterns. Soon data from 8 worlds was flowing into the combined analysis. The crystal mind display became incredibly complex, but clear patterns were emerging. The alignment effect suggests gravitational influences, Ben observed. Maybe the crystals are sensitive to gravitational waves or other cosmic forces that become stronger during certain planetary configurations. Queen Zara's patterns brightened as understanding dawned. If this is correct, then the crystal networks can be adjusted to compensate for gravitational variations. But such adjustments require precise coordination between multiple worlds. Perfect timing, Ben said. You now have 8 rulers working together. They can coordinate the adjustments. The Queen's mental voice carried wonder and excitement as she communicated with her fellow rulers. Ben couldn't follow the technical details, but he could feel the growing enthusiasm as the Zephyrian leaders realized they might actually solve the crisis. They are sharing not just data, but also theories and potential solutions, the Queen explained to Ben. Ruler Kex of the 12th world has discovered a frequency modulation that reduces crystal stress. Ruler Vex of the 4th world has developed a network backup system that prevents cascade failures. And now you can all benefit from those discoveries, Ben said proudly. Each ruler's individual expertise becomes available to everyone. More rulers joined the collaboration as word spread about the progress being made. Within hours, all 17 Zephyrian worlds were participating in the largest cooperative effort in their species' history. The solutions came together like pieces of a puzzle. By coordinating crystal frequency adjustments across multiple worlds, the rulers could counter gravitational effects. By implementing backup systems developed on different planets, they could prevent future cascade failures. By sharing monitoring data in real time, they could predict and prevent problems before they became critical. It's working, Queen Zara announced as the crystal mind display showed network stability improving across all participating worlds. The crystal forests are responding to our coordinated adjustments. The failure rate is dropping rapidly. Ben watched the display transform from chaotic failure patterns to organized, healthy energy flows. You did it. You saved your species. We did it, the Queen corrected. Human cooperation methods made this possible. Without your knowledge of collaborative problem solving, I would never have contacted the other rulers. The Queen's patterns shifted to colors Ben had never seen before, deep blues mixed with bright golds that seemed to indicate profound gratitude and joy. Ben Torres, you have given my people a gift more precious than technology or resources. You have shown us how to share our individual strengths to become stronger as a species. As the immediate crisis resolved, the Zephyrian rulers continued their unprecedented communications. They began discussing other challenges they had faced in isolation, discovering that cooperation could improve many aspects of their civilization. They are establishing a permanent council for sharing knowledge and coordinating responses to future challenges, Queen Zara reported. For the first time in our history, Zephyrian worlds will work together as partners rather than existing as isolated individuals. Ben felt pride and satisfaction, but also sadness. This is amazing, Your Majesty. But I need to find a way back to human space. My crew will be looking for me. About that, the Queen said, her patterns showing what Ben now recognized as amusement. Your communication device has been repaired and amplified by my crystal technology. Your crew has been searching for you, and they are currently in orbit around my world. Ben's heart leaped with joy and relief. They came back for me. Humans do not abandon their group members, the Queen observed. This is another example of your species' cooperative strength. They risk their safety to search for you because they value your individual contribution to their collective success. The Queen led Ben back to the chamber's entrance, which now opened to show a shuttle landing nearby. Ben could see three familiar figures climbing out of the craft. Lieutenant Kim, Engineer Walsh, and Dr. Martinez had come to rescue him. Before you rejoin your crew, Queen Zara said, I must answer the question I asked when we first met. You asked if I was a solitary human, and I have learned the answer is far more complex than I understood. Ben turned to face the towering alien Queen one last time. What's your answer? You are not solitary, Ben Torres. No human is truly solitary. You are connected beings, connected to your crew, your species, your history, and your future. This connection makes you stronger, wiser, and more capable than any individual could be alone. The Queen's patterns shifted to warm, peaceful colors. My people were solitary by choice, believing it made us pure and strong. But we learned that true strength comes from choosing connection over isolation, cooperation over independence, and shared wisdom over individual pride. Ben felt emotional as he prepared to leave this remarkable alien and her transformed civilization. Will your people be all right? Better than all right. We will thrive in ways we never imagined possible. And we will remember that a crashed human pilot taught an ancient species how to save itself through the simple act of working together. As Ben walked toward the shuttle, he heard his crew calling his name with joy and relief. Lieutenant Kim was already making jokes about his extended vacation, while Engineer Walsh wanted to hear about the alien technology he'd encountered. Dr. Martinez was checking him for injuries while demanding to know if he'd been eating properly. Ben looked back at Queen Zara one final time. She stood in the entrance to her crystal palace, patterns of light dancing across her skin in colors that seemed to speak of friendship, gratitude, and hope for the future. Thank you, Ben Torres, her voice echoed in his mind. You have taught us that the question is not whether we are solitary beings, but whether we choose to remain solitary when connection offers so much more. As the shuttle lifted off, Ben watched the crystal forests below glow brighter than ever before. But more importantly, he knew that across 17 worlds, an ancient species was learning to work together for the first time in their history. The Queen had asked if he was a solitary human. Ben now understood that the best answer was that humans never have to be solitary, because they always have each other. And sometimes, that connection could save not just individual lives, but entire civilizations. His crew welcomed him home with laughter, stories, and the warmth of belonging to something larger than himself. As their ship set course for human space, Ben smiled knowing that somewhere in the galaxy, another species was discovering the same truth humanity had learned long ago, that together, they were stronger than any of them could ever be alone.